The moment felt electric as the audience cheered Denzel Washington's entrance onto The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, each clap resonating like respect for a cinematic legend whose gravitas fills every room he enters. But within seconds, the applause shifted into uneasy murmurs when Colbert, grinning but with sharper eyes than usual, pivoted away from pleasantries and instead confronted Washington on his recent political statements. Statements that, Colbert reminded him, had sparked backlash on social media and opinion pages alike, accusing Washington of speaking beyond his lane. Immediately the rhythm cracked. Denzel's posture stiffened imperceptibly, yet enough for those tuned in to pick up on a flicker of tension. The host's tone, though polite, carried an edge, and as he quoted Washington's recent op-ed decrying cancel culture and warning that celebrity voices aren't above consequences, the audience tensed further, sensing that tonight wouldn't be a smooth promotional segment, but a simmering confrontation. Washington, gloves off, responded with measured calm. "I believe in responsibility, Stephen, for all of us, including myself," he said, the studio pausing around him, all words now heavier than usual. He went on, his voice even but firm, laying out his belief that influence comes with duty, but that celebrity should not be forced into ideological conformity. Colbert countered, eyes narrowed, asking how Washington responded to those who accused him of hypocrisy, of preaching humility while living luxury, of free speech while staying publicly silent on certain social issues. The audience collectively leaned in, half expected fireworks, half braced for war. Denzel paused, the studio silent, then spoke quietly of nuance, of the paradox of being both public figure and private man, and how sometimes to every answer there isn't a bullet, but a balance. But Colbert, relentless, pressed further with a pointed example. Washington's decision to appear in an upcoming biopic of a controversial figure without a public statement on that person's alleged misconduct. He asked, "Do you really believe an artist is separable when a legacy includes gravity?" That line landed like a punch. Denzel's eyes flickered, nostrils flared, and he replied, voice low, "Yes, I do. If we lose the power to interpret, to reevaluate, then history becomes a cage, not a teacher." The tension became physical. Audience members shifted in their seats. Colbert sputtered, trying to reframe with humor, but Denzel cut him off mid-joke. Expression tight. "This isn't a roast, Stephen." The exchange escalated swiftly, words intertwining authority and accusation. An uncomfortable hush enveloped the set as they circled. Colbert, balancing hosting and exposing. Denzel, defending artistry at personal cost. The host then accused Denzel of sidestepping accountability, daring him to name a moment when fame demanded private reflection instead of public statement. And Denzel, lips pressed, replied, "Every journey I've walked is proof enough that faith and focus can make statements louder than headlines." That answer resonated. They were no longer trading scripted soundbites but raw convictions. The audience exhaled with tension, seemingly caught between admiration and unease. Then Colbert tested him, saying, "So you'll take on anything? No matter how risky to your brand, no matter whose feelings get bent." Denzel leaned in, gaze unwavering. "I'll take on what I believe, always, even if it means walking off." The pause was electric. Colbert's bravado collided with Denzel's resolve. Then, with near-ceremonial restraint, Denzel said, "And this stage is not built for the truths I came to share." He reached behind his chair, unclipped his mic, and with a final nod, cool, respectful, unbroken, he rose and walked off the set, footsteps echoing, leaving behind stunned silence, a void filled only by the studio band's stunned falter. Colbert sat frozen, processing whether he'd hosted a conflict or witnessed a fracture. Producers scrambled, lights flickered, and cameras whirled away. Social media detonated. Denzel walkout, Chuck Colbert confrontation trended within minutes. Opinion. Panels exploded. Was Colbert brave or brutal? Was Denzel principled or performative? Each word from the exchange found new life as articles splintered the net. Denzel, unreachable, offered no follow-up statement. Colbert returned next night with measured words. Sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones we walk away from. The incident became a cultural pivot, a blockbuster emblem of celebrity accountability, ideological friction, and the price of speaking hard truths on live television. And as the dust settled, one question echoed in living rooms and media circles alike: when legends clash with hosts, who truly wins, and what do we lose in that? In the wake of Denzel Washington's dramatic exit from The Late Show, the nation's cultural dialogue erupted into a fever pitch, talk shows pivoting their scripts to dissect the moment with surgical precision, while Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube transformed the few intense minutes into soundbite shrines and ideological battlegrounds. No longer was it merely a celebrity walkout, but a symbolic collision between Hollywood integrity and media provocation. And in this aftershock, a deeper tension surfaced. Not just about politics or art, but the limits of discourse itself in a hyper-fragmented age. Washington remained silent for 3 days, an intentional void in a world addicted to instant responses. And in that silence, he gained both reverence and criticism. Some saw poise and maturity, others cried cowardice or calculated mystery. But what no one could ignore was that his absence made the moment bigger, not smaller. Meanwhile, Colbert's team released a controlled statement. We stand by our commitment to asking hard questions, even when they spark discomfort. But even within their carefully phrased message, audiences read the unsaid. That perhaps the pursuit of a viral clip had overshadowed the art of meaningful conversation. Washington finally resurfaced in a pre-recorded appearance on a quiet, long-form podcast hosted by an old friend and retired journalist, his voice steady and unpolished, far from studio cameras, where he unpacked not just the walk-off, but the weight of expectation, how fame, age, race, and legacy collide in unpredictable ways when the world insists that your silence speaks louder than your words. He explained, without bitterness, that his decision to leave wasn't about offense, but clarity. When you recognize a space doesn't allow for honest nuance, you exit, not in defiance, but in discipline. And that phrase became a mantra. Online, shared on protest signs, classroom walls, even tattooed by an ambitious philosophy student who claimed the moment was bigger than Denzel himself. In the weeks that followed, the entertainment industry's echo chamber began wrestling with its own complicity. Other actors admitted they had declined similar talk show invites, fearing manufactured controversy. Studio executives privately whispered that Denzel's grace had revealed a growing fatigue with media spectacles designed for division more than discussion. Comedians debated the ethics of gotcha interviews, while journalists questioned if hosting meant guiding or goading, a blurry line. Colbert had perhaps crossed that night, yet the most profound ripple emerged not from Washington's fans or detractors, but from young artists, particularly black creatives, who found in Denzel's refusal to perform emotional labor a kind of liberation. They began posting videos of their own walkout moments, times they declined to sanitize their voice for acceptance, and a movement subtly grew, not angry, but resolute, an insistence that authenticity was not rebellion, but necessity. Schools held debates about separating the message from the medium. Film classes deconstructed the clash as a modern morality tale, and a leading university offered a seminar titled Denzel vs. Discourse, the Price of Principle in Public Spaces. Meanwhile, Colbert, though publicly composed, was privately shaken. Close staff reported that he rewatched the clip several times, each time more introspective, and even confided to his writers that perhaps the show had lost its balance between satire and civility. A surprise meeting was arranged weeks later when both men were invited to a cultural summit on free speech, and though neither had confirmed attendance initially, their joint appearance in a closed-door session sent headlines racing again, even as the actual meeting remained private. No footage leaked, no transcript posted, only a single photo emerged. Denzel and Stephen seated side by side, no tension in their posture, no forced smiles, just two men weathered by fame and expectation, choosing in that moment to sit and listen. Afterward, Colbert opened his next monologue with an unscripted reflection. Sometimes the loudest truth is found in silence, and the most important guests are the ones who make us examine our intentions, not just our questions. It was a subtle mea culpa, applauded for its restraint, and though it didn't reverse the clash, it recast it as a cultural milestone, not a feud, but a reckoning. Denzel, on his part, continued with his film project, his public appearances more selective, his interviews longer and more intimate. No more 4-minute segments wedged between commercial breaks, but spaces that allowed breath and thought. In one such interview, he was asked whether he regretted that night. He paused, then said, "No, I don't regret standing up for dignity, and I don't regret walking away to protect it." That quote etched itself into the annals of cultural discourse, taught in media ethics classes, written into essays, even performed in spoken-word events where artists mimicked his cadence.